that spirit and insisted that the Ministry of Finance go back based on the spirit of the house to remove those excesses, and then we redirect the resources. This has not been done. I had wanted to raise this matter when Parliament opens, if I'm allowed, because I feel that as a committee, we are consultants. We are the people who have been entrusted to look deeper into the budget and advise accordingly. So we don't only present, we also advise, and that advice must make impact. So, Mr. Chairman, that thing is hanging. It has not been dealt with. And Mr. Chairman, let us not move as business as usual. What transpired when you presented the supplementary budget has backfired on us. And I think there are certain things we can handle in the committee without allowing it to backfire in the public. Because you are talking of an addendum which has not been the one the minister is presenting now. And you're quite right. But Mr. Chairman, the addendum on the 10 billion, I did not see it laid on this before it was brought to the committee. And when it was brought to the committee, many of us who had subscribed to the minority report were not put into the picture. We saw the report altered without our notification, and this was a great embarrassment to us. Mr. Chairman, we don't have to go and fight in public. I think it's important that we should trust each other. Even if there was some emergency or something, please trust us. Let's talk about it. We may disagree, but at the end of the day, I cannot say they conceal certain information from some members. We are equal members of this committee. We are all entitled to know all the information which is brought to this committee, and we carry collective responsibility. And that's why, Mr. Chairman, I thank you for the preambular report, and definitely I had also wanted to thank the Minister of Finance this time. We didn't have to ask them to make an apology. I think this time they have tried to comply to our demand, particularly statutory demand. They have tried. I know they are not perfect. We could have raised a number of concerns, but we thought in generality they have performed very well. So let your committee capture it, since the environment was so hostile that some of us were not even allowed to make a comment. But I think it's important that we should put on record that this is the first year for the last 5 years, the military has always been asked to apologize because of their failure to comply to certain statutory requirements. But this is the first year they have not done it, and I appreciate it. Because I've been working with you all these years. So, Mr. Chairman, I want to thank you, but I also want you to note that we have passed this budget with a lot of loaded budget which will not be used. So this swollen amount of money we have given these people, budget for overseas travel, budget for inland, budget for seminar, workshop, all these special meals, they will never use it. They will never use this money. The minister is here, will agree with you. But we have left it in the budget for them to do whatever they want to do with it. So I think, Mr. Chairman, let's take responsibility and guide us accordingly. I thank you.
Thank you so much. Regarding the other supplementary we considered last time, I think that matter is still in court, and I would not like to discuss it because I would be going against the sub judice rule. But concerning the proposal that was... No, that matter is still going on. No.
The fact that they withdrew and there's even the sanction has been written by the council. To the effect that this...
I think the council can advise. I think there is a matter that still remains in court.
The president discussed it before.
Yeah, my colleagues are still in court over that matter.
there's not so much I can say about it, because I know that that matter is still, there's an issue that is still going on.
Exactly. Yeah. So we cannot delve into the details of that matter because of that rule. Now, regarding the issue of the
we can talk about the procedure.
the consumptive
procedures, why? We can talk about procedure without mentioning.
Yeah, because if I had been allowed, if the law allows me, I would have discussed it and I would have told you the circumstances. But I cannot for the time being. We shall discuss it at a later date when the matter has been disposed of. But regarding suppressing the consumptive items in the budget, I'm sure you could have looked at our presentation, the majority presentation. We actually dealt with a number of them. The workshops and the seminars, the travel inland, travel abroad, and a couple of others. And we actually suppressed those budgets and reallocated that money to other important areas. So that one we did, but we still maintained an exit route in that presentation, as you remember, when we proposed that the budget would be subject to review after the full effects of coronavirus, COVID-19 have been thoroughly examined. And I think we all agreed to that, and the House adopted it. So we shall be waiting. So there will be another opportunity where the ministry or ourselves will be looking at the details of what is contained in the travel inland, travel abroad, workshops and seminars, periodicals and whatever, magazines, special meals. You know, we shall be looking into details of all that. But we must also appreciate that it is not all wasteful expenditure. Because what you look at as travel inland to the Ministry of Defense could be something so critical, you know. Even travel abroad. There are those sectors that cannot perform without traveling abroad. So we need to get into all these details.
There are no flights.
Well, you cannot predict that there will be no flights in September. You must be God to say that. You know, so all these things require more detailed discussion and analysis, and we expect that the ministry, at some appropriate time, maybe in July, August, they'll review the budget that was passed and propose new measures if necessary. I think that was what was agreed in principle with the government during the debate of our report. So I beg that we proceed with the business, with today's business. Mr. Minister, we have received a request of 10 billion under URI, a request of 3.9 billion for salary obligations under privatization unit, and the shillings 1.9 billion to settle the outstanding energy bills for fine spinners and other textiles, and Uganda shilling 0.776 billion local revenue collected. This by mistake, this local revenue collected by Ruero was considered in our previous report because it had appeared in the minister's presentation. So we accidentally picked it, you know, and included it in that report.
Okay.
So it has been passed. That one has been passed.
That's local revenue.
Yeah, number 4 was passed in the other presentation. So we are now dealing with 1, 2, and 3. We would have wished to consider corrigenda, I think it is addendum 4. But since it has not been laid, I don't think we are in a position to consider it. So, Honourable Minister, you are welcome, and you may please proceed.
Well, thank you, Chair and honourable colleagues. First of all, I must apologize for the slow lane addendum with regard to the locus I do believe that the appropriate time should be, I think that will be just an oversight from our ministry. One of the chair colleagues.
We are not hearing. I think
One of
you
the
should
chair,
share a cup of tea to get some energy.
Under this COVID, you have to reserve the energy.
But you have to drink a lot. There's also lemon around.
Yeah, Chair and colleagues, I was saying that, first of all, apologies for having not laid that addendum on the floor of Parliament. I think that was just an oversight. I think everybody was too busy with the budget process to make sure that the budget is passed as per the requirements of the law and the city as well. So, our apologies, but I think we will be able to late as soon as possibly by Tuesday or Wednesday. Honorable Chair and colleagues, I know we are looking at item 1, 2, and 3, but there's another addendum which was submitted for the streets children. I think we saw it.
That is another one now.
When
Yeah,
is
it was
you late for prayer?
You did not late.
We don't have that one.
Which
You have speaking notes?
we maybe, I think we can check, but it's
You
part
have
of
speaking notes?
it's part of the notes that I got that were to make this request, because the street children are not there on the streets and are currently they're being taken care of in the
presenting something you don't have.
not this year.
Can you photocopy for us?
No, but we
I think
don't
the
have.
clerk has it.
It has not been late.
Huh?
It has not been late.
Okay. I will withdraw that one.
Children, what are they?
I will withdraw that one. Let's deal with the. Let's deal with. Okay. Let's cross check and then we'll come at the appropriate time. Chair, the other 3 items. One, the 10 billion under URI is really to operationalize the machining and manufacturing and the industrial skill training center at Namabe. As you're very much aware, the facility has been completed and there's need for us now to sort of operationalize it. The executive director has requested for that to be able to make procurement, and after consultations, he has confirmed that as soon as Parliament approves the supplementary, they'll be able to do the procurement of the equipment so that they can be able to operationalize it. And this is really. It was so the directive from the cabinet because if you have to do import substitution on some of the machine parts that we import into the country, we need to operationalize that that center, the URI center. So this is really for purposes of trying to operationalize it, so that they can procure the necessary equipment to be able to make some of those parts for our factories here. And then on number 2. 3.9 billion salary rotations on the privatization unit. These are contract staff and they are not normally budgeted under the regular budgeting process. And so there's need for us to provide that money to be able to pay their salaries and also terminal benefits. That is why that request has been made. And then the final one is the 1.9 billion to settle outstanding bills, energy bills for fine spinners and younger textiles. Honorable colleagues, Chair, honorable colleagues, the Ministry of Finance has been making these payments on behalf of the company, and that was because of the understanding between ourselves and the company to be able to support them. As you know,
Can we have order, please?
as you know, they do make fine textiles, specifically for exports to the US. So I think that was part of our support as government, so that we can be able to boost our exports. So there's an outstanding bill of about 1.9 billion, and that's the reason why we have come back to you to request for approval of those monies. Honorable Chair, I think the approval was done for the 3% of the supplemental budget. I believe there were 2 items that may not have been captured in the report. I just want to confirm with the clerk. And that is the 10 billion funding for to KCCA for rehabilitation of the roads that were...
The what?
The roads in Kampala.
Where is it?
It's part of the schedule. I'm just
Which
wondering.
schedule? The schedule is here.
Minister, what we have is here.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, so where is it?
Let's confine ourselves to these 3, and then the others will add it. But it is it's part of the 3%. I just wanted to make sure that that was captured. Yeah.
Procedure, Mr. Chairman.
I beg to submit.
Procedure. Yeah.
Procedure, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman.
Procedure, the minister is no longer holding the floor.
Oh, I see.
He has concluded.
No, but still cannot read the procedure if you care.
But he has concluded, we haven't got the document, so has he withdrawn his presentation?
Yeah, Honourable Minister.
I've withdrawn that one.
He has withdrawn the presentation.
The one of KCCA.
No, the entire thing.
No, the entire thing is still there.
No, just clarification, Chair and colleagues. Supplementary to
Yeah, Honourable Minister, it is a requirement in this committee that when you present on a matter like this one, you present a report with full justification. Because to us, when you say under URI to operationalize the machining, manufacturing and industrial skills training, it doesn't mean anything to us. We don't know what you are talking about. And you want 10 million to go just like that.
Mr. Chairman,
You know, the 10 billion cannot just go like that. You really need to give us
Mr. Chairman, I want to add.
let me finish the presentation. You need to give us details, coin by coin, how you are going to spend the 10 billion. I think we have learned some lessons previously.
Despite the lockdown.
3.9 billion, you need to explain. We know this privatization unit finished its business long time ago. Now you are paying salaries for who?
Privatize what?
And privatize what? 3.9 billion on companies you sold so many years ago. Some have already collapsed, So what do you need the 3.9 billion for? Salary for who? Who are these people?
And when is the budget?
Yes, and then these energy bills for fine spinners. I think we need to see those agreements. We need to see those agreements and the basis for underwriting the costs on bills for energy for these private companies.
When you can
When we are suffering, the population has been quarreling over 10 billion shillings.
and then you donate.
Do we have a PPP with them? Do we have a PPP?
So I think you really need to give us details.
Do we have a
So who wanted to discuss?
Mr. Chairman.
Honorable Musasi. Okay, next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a different mind. I agree with your concerns, but I think we are proceeding under normal budget. Mr. Chairman, this is a supplemental, and the supplemental spending has got its own rules. My concern here would be, from all the 3 items that have been presented before us, nothing looks to be unforeseen. Nothing looks to be unavoidable, Mr. Chairman. So I wonder, and I've always asked this question, is supplementary spending another route of appropriation? Because, Mr. Chairman, we recently passed Addendum 2, which had salary arrears. And here is again an addendum which includes the settlement of salaries. Mr. Chairman, I want to know how the minister comes to these proposals, because by implication, the assumption would have been if there were unforeseen issues in the salary, in the payroll, you would have considered all of them under addendum 2, which we recently passed. But now you keep coming to us with items which don't look to be unforeseen and unavoidable. So, Mr. Chairman, I know we have always done a ritual. Whatever comes, we pass. Whatever comes, we pass. Don't you think this is the right time for us to do our work as the law requires? And we'll scrutinize these items by item. Those which don't qualify, we reject them. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. He must first prove that these requests are unforeseen and unavoidable. And also, Mr. Chairman, information before I come, Mr. Chairman, I remember when we come this way. Here, passing there was an item of which came under Ajedra.
It is in the corrigenda.
So, Mr. Chairman, mine actually is not a big one. First of all, I want to thank you because in your introduction, you have actually talked much of issues I wanted to raise, but number 1, number 2, number 3, that's why I want to raise some few questions. Number 4, I want to thank the minister to think about, because the local governments are actually bad, so to bring that one, I have no problem. But number 2, about the salary. Mr. Minister, now, if we give you like 30 minutes as a committee, can you bring, so that we don't postpone, can you bring the reports, the notes concerning number 1, number 2, and number 3, so that we don't go deep? Because the moment we have the explanatory notes, I don't think we can ask many questions. But now, the way it is now, it looks like yesterday you sat and said, no, we take this one to the committee. So my question is, can you avail now the explanatory notes right now? Is it possible? Thank you.
Chair. Thank you, Chair. Chair, what I wanted to say is just to add what Honorable Sassi has just said. The minister should consider where actually the resources for the funding of this supplementary council. This is a hard time when everybody is facing the pandemic, and would think if at all we are looking for money, which is not easy to come by anyway, it should go for very crucial sectors. How urgent are these kind of expenditures that you are giving us? Can you explain that? And where are you getting the money? Are you not trying to use the emergency available now to suppress other votes to get money to where you feel it should go? Can you please explain where we get this money from?
Chair.
So, anything is said?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I want to thank the Minister for the presentation, and I have a few things to note. One is the Minister was actually not talking to the regiment. He was giving us a narrative that is not reflecting what he actually brought to the committee. 2, when you look at the explanations and the narratives from 1, 10 billion, 3.9 billion for salaries, 1.9. When you bring such a supplementary schedule, there should be a clear justification as to why this money would not be handled with the existing budget. that you already gave the ministry. There must be a clear justification that we failed to handle this because of 1, 2, 3. That is why we are presenting a supplementary schedule. But for a minister to just come and make proposals in this time when we are talking about morality and many issues, I think it is very unfortunate, and I totally will not support this.
Thank you, Chair, and I want to thank the Minister as well. Chair, for me there are two things. My arguments are going to be guided by two arguments. One is legal. The second one is moral. Legal argument and moral argument. Legally, Chair.
And the Constitution.
No. It's okay.
The constitutional thing.
These are even constitutional matters. Chair, our rules are very clear. I expected the minister to come, first of all, and address us on the issues of our parameters. Do these requests meet the parameters? I thought that was the first thing the minister was going to address himself to. Are these requests unforeseeable? Are these requests unavoidable? Unfortunately, the minister seems not to be ready. I don't know whether they just asked him to stand in for somebody this morning. He seems to be very unprepared. He does not understand anything about these requests. So, Chair, I do not even see in a situation where the minister fails to do his duty, his constitutional duty of defending and explaining as to whether these requests meet the legal requirements for a supplement to be approved by this committee. Chair, I would urge that the minister be given leave, so that he can go and organize himself, or in the absence of that, we can do the justice on these papers. Then, to Chair, mine is the other moral argument. That in a situation where the country is suffering, businesses are closing, private individuals are failing to meet their bare minimum.
Even a meal.
Is it morally right for a government at this time to come and request Parliament, request taxpayers to start paying bills of private institutions? Yet, Chair, you know that this committee only appropriates money to a vote. Now, if it is not a vote, then there should be a subdivision within that vote. Now, these are private individuals' businesses. And I do not know, the minister has not given us the grounds under which they select some of these few companies so that we pay their electricity bills. Ugandans are failing to pay even their rents. And then here you are saying you are paying electricity bills for companies that even have got monopolies of supplying to government. Nyanza Textile, Spine Finas are the only monopoly companies that supply uniforms to police. They supply uniform to army. Even these things under COVID, they are the only ones. No, they don't sell at exorbitant price even. You know, they are monopolies. They are not supplying at competitive price. So, Chair, given that background,
What is the moral issue?
do we really have moral ground as a government to start asking taxpayers to foot the bills of private companies which are already enjoying a lot of privileges when other Ugandan companies, Ugandans are suffering, they cannot meet even their daily subsistence. People are crying, they don't have food. Why would we give this? If the money is there, why don't we buy food for Ugandans who are starving? Yesterday I saw a woman stripping naked because she had failed to feed her children. So, Chair, for me, those are my two issues, and I still insist that the minister is not ready.
They send him out.
He has no justification. These items don't qualify for supplementaries. They should be budgeted for in the next financial year. If it is not, then wait for the other financial year.
After COVID.
After COVID. Yeah. So, Chair, do we really have any reason to continue listening to a minister who is not ready and is not prepared to defend his own request?
Okay. in the process you have to raise the procedure matter.
Yes.
Whether what will continue will waste our time.
Yes.
The matter we don't have sufficient details and then a matter that's morally questionable. I don't know whether we should go ahead with the debate or we grant leave to the minister. Let me hear from Mr. Honorable Mwanga.
I stand by the because it is to be given a chance to come back. There are questions he needs to answer. 10 billion, which you want, item number 1, is the same figure that we gave in the budget. No, they brought a agenda of 10 billion, which we included in the budget, and we allocated 10 billion. Yes, yeah, 10 billion. You brought it here in a agenda. We included it in the budget. You are bringing the exact 10 billion in a supplementary. So tell us, what is the total cost of this machine that you want to procure? Because it can't be that in the same figure you want in the supplementary is the same figure you requested for in the agenda. What magic is that too? So tell us, what is the cost of this whole thing? The other one, you respond. The other one is the 3.5 billion. How many workers are in this unit? 3.9. And how much do they earn in the remaining 2 months to be able to consume 3.9 billion? What is their salary scale? Because this is an enormous amount of...
Why was it not budgeted?
Yeah, and why is it even budgeted for? Which kind of salaries do you pay this privatization unit? And what are they doing to qualify within 2 months, the remaining? That is May and June. To be able that you are going to pay them salaries equal to nearly 4 billion. How many are they? There should be so many, because if you are the 20 members, these ones will be earning how many? 200 each? Yes, if you are the 20 workers in the unit and you are paying them 20 in 2 months, each will be earning 200 million per month. So which workers are you talking about? And from Minister of Finance, it's actually very embarrassing that in your very ministry you cannot plan for a unit under you and you bring it us here. Secondly, thirdly, this Nyanza thing. Either they come here in a supplementary wanting a corporation tax. Now that you've not requested for a tax, you want to find some money called bills. In every supplementary of every year, they must come here for an incentive. Last year they came and said, we have an obligation and an arrangement to give them a corporation tax, which is a profit tax. Now you are not coming for the same corporate tax, you are now coming to bills. So this bill, this another thing, today it is corporation tax, the other day it is bills. So under your agreement, what did you exempt? 2, what is the dividends to Ghana from this company?
Can we see the agreement?
Can we see that agreement that you pretend? Otherwise, today you will come back for corporation tax. I think next time you are going to come back here and say we pay for their wages. Because every time you must be 2. Why does the same company appear always in a supplementary? This Nyanza and Spinners. Chairman, if you recall, if you bring back all, as long as I've been here in the budget committee, every year there is money for spinning and this Nyanza. But Chairman, we better even lift the veil. Who owns these companies, by the way? That they are so privileged that all the time, the only company that have not brought in here is this steel. I don't know whether it will come in another agenda. It is the first agenda. Always there is steel, there is Nyanza, there is Nani. It is high time for Parliament to know who owns these factories. So my concern, Mr. Chairman, is that he wants to speak to this. I see no logic whatsoever for giving this money. To give us the overall, for budget one of the machine you want. If you are going to, there is a cheap machine, which...
Not a machine.
Yes.
Because the statement is to operationalize. So that tells you
it is a recurrent expense.
And why was it on budget?
Those are my questions.
Add something, just repeat what you are saying. Mr. Chairman, in his submission, the minister talked about the directive from the cabinet. Mr. Chairman, it is also coming a tendency of ministers telling us that sometimes whenever they bring an issue here, they tell us that it was a directive from the cabinet. Honorable Minister, you are a senior person in this parliament. Why do you always say it is a directive? Here we don't deal with directives. We want to scrutinize the information you have given us so that we can share the information and then come out with what we think we should do. But telling us that it is a directive, my dear, that's a challenge. You just get directives from your executive there, but not in parliament. Thank you.
Now, Minister, in view of what you have just heard,
Well, they turn against us.
wondering whether you are in a position to proceed on this matter. The first question is the source of funding. The source of funding, especially in light of the fact that you have suppressed the budget for 2019, 2020 in order to finance COVID interventions. In fact, a number of government development projects have been suspended. But now, after suspending those very important projects in water, in energy, in all this agriculture, roads, after suspending all these projects, where do you get the moral authority to come and ask for 10 billion shillings within the same budget to fund URI? You know? Number two, the idea of footing the bills, energy bills, of two private companies without properly substantiating or justifying why you are proceeding in that manner. You know, we have so many companies. These are not the only companies that consume power in this country. Why these two? I think we need really a lot of detail about this. We need a detailed justification on this, and we need to see the agreement upon which you are proceeding to present this request. Now, also, we are informed that the 10 billion for URI was a matter that was presented to this committee and to the House under the budget corrigenda, you know, and was approved in the budget. So this appears like a double counting of benefit, a matter that you really need to clarify. So with those remarks, before I do the ruling, maybe you want to say something. Please proceed.
Thank you, Chair.
Minister, you also said the mission of your ministry. You also emphasize the mission of your ministry.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair and honorable colleagues, for all your comments. I've taken note of all your comments. With regard to item number 1, yes, it is true. We had made the corrigenda to the budget, which was passed. That is very true. And 2, this supplementary request is for procurement of the machinery. Now, to operationalize the whole center.
Yes, read it.
35. Yeah, no, I'm just giving the explanation. I'll give you the detailed breakdown with the justifications. Not now, but at a later date. To operationalize the entire center requires 35 billion. And we're not able to have that in the budget. And that's why we put the 10 billion through Ajedra, and then the 10 billion was immediately for procurement of the machinery. But I'll go back and give you a detailed breakdown in terms of how those monies are going to be used, and bring it and submit it to you. So I wanted to have that distinction that the total money required actually is 35 billion, not just 10 billion to operationalize it. On the issue of staff salaries under PU, and also the 1.9, these are subventions within
the 39 billion one you present. Will you take care and give us the projected benefits? Because it's not a question of us giving 39 billion. At the end of it all, how much will the country benefit? Because you will normally throw money, 39 billion is a lot of money. So, it's now saying 39 billion. 35. The overall group. Give us, in the short term, in the long term, the actual benefits to justify why we are throwing away 35 billion.
Yeah, okay. And moreover, from what we know, Minister,
yes,
that this setup was donated to us by the Chinese on a turnkey basis. Turnkey, meaning that we only need to turn the key when everything has been done. Now here you are, trying to formulate new figures, justifying additional requests for expenditure in the form of machines.
Not machines, operational.
No, he's now saying it is for machinery. And he's running away from what is written here.
No, I'm not running away. Okay, Chair, I think it will also be very beneficial for the members of the Budget Committee to visit this center and to see what they intend to do for this country. I'm trying to answer my colleagues, what are the benefits?
So the Chinese donated buildings only?
No.
The machines.
No, you see, when you have the buildings there, yes, the lathes, they are there. But you see, if you want to make machine parts, then you need to procure certain equipment. Like if you want to make, as an example, if you wanted to make a gearbox or a crankshaft, if you wanted to make some parts of a machine, you need to procure that particular material to be able to come and work on it in the factory or at the center. So I think it is important that maybe, Chair, through you, if you can request the committee to go and look at what is really there, and that will be very beneficial to you to have some kind of idea of what we're trying to do. Now, on the issue.
But Chair,
yes.
Don't take us for that. If they give you a turnkey project, for anybody who has studied the project management, they give you a turnkey project. In most cases, they even give you the startup operational materials. Otherwise, how will I turn on when I have no materials? So you cannot come here and manufacture an explanation. The Chinese are so insistent. They donated us a turnkey project and then never gave us the basic materials to start it off. Can that happen?
Chair, as I said, I think to be able to resolve this debate, it is better for the committee to make a field trip to that center. No, there's a reason there is also behind it. What I'm saying is this, what the Chinese gave to us as a donation was the center plus the machines inside.
Procedure.
Chair, it was already proposed here and it was clearly identified by us members that the minister was not ready. So our continued interaction with the minister is very dangerous to the minister himself. So I wish I was the minister when I even things when the chair was ruling about taking leave. So I would like to propose that we are wasting time and would allow the minister take a leave and come back when he's well prepared. Further procedure.
Procedure.
Further procedure. Concurring with what Honorable Shenge said, the further you allow the minister to speak, the more he exposes the irrelevance of the type of expenditure that they are asking. It would be proper that the minister just goes away and makes a better justification. Because this explanation is making this expenditure very irrelevant as far as supplementary is concerned.
Okay. Minister. Proceed again.
I have been watching this center on TV and the news. The minister is saying that they give us a project, a turnkey project, which we should operationalize. I was requesting the minister, whether we visit or not, give us a comprehensive business plan of what we are going to make, what investment we can put in, how much we shall get out. If we make a program, what are we going to add? So that we stop this presentation. Let us have a whole business plan. You tell us you have this program here, we are going to put that in hospital, we shall recoup 120 things so that we understand what was the program, rather than hiding now into this presentation.
Some other additional ideas. Because now the theory has got a business component. We know, because we are tired of doing things piecemeal. What is the role of UDC? How does URI relate with UDC if at all now they are going to have a business component? Because according to what the minister are telling us, these are raw materials to operationalize the machine. It means we are going to make and manufacture those parts. It means you manufacture and give out or sell out. What is the business plan? How does UDC come in there? What is the relationship with URI? Is now URI fully going to be a business issue?
Okay, Honourable Minister, I think a number of procedure matters are being raised. From the issues emerging, you have just said that the 10 billion is for machinery. And on paper, what you have written, it appears like a recurrent cost. And we're rather aware, because it's not the first time we are confronted with this with request from URI. We are aware that this was a turnkey project, and we saw the president commissioning this project. So there are a lot of gray areas, that you need to clarify on this project. And it would appear that you are not adequately equipped with the relevant information. And regarding the 3.9 billion, you have salary obligations. Which salary obligations, since privatization unit has been there, I think since 1991. These salary obligations should have been anticipated from day one. So they should have been foreseen. So clearly you can see that's not a matter that will come ordinarily under supplementary expenditure requests. Private companies benefiting from the budget, you need a very strong justification. And since you have nothing in writing that you have presented to this committee, we are constrained to proceed with this matter at this juncture. So we need to grant you leave to obtain more details, on your presentation. We also noted that you are trying to insert other requests. Seems that you're not very well grounded on this addenda. You have omissions here and there. You may need to consider laying all the necessary supplementary requests under Schedule 2. And I want to submit that we should close Schedule 2. If you want to go to Schedule 3. So we are getting extremely confused in the manner you are continuing with this addendum after addendum. You know, we can no longer count. You know, so in view of that, we are granting you the Honorable Minister.
And
I've already...
Can I comment before you...
It's about the amendment
Just a
of
final
the party statutes. Why we are getting all of these messes, it is because it is long overdue. You remember we are having that privatization unit mandated under the party statutes. The party statute is outdated. It doesn't fit some of the objectives of the country today. Honorable Minister, you know that. We have been promised that the party statute is going to be presented. It's now more than 2 years. Where is the party statute? What is the status quo of its amendments?
Okay, so Minister.
Okay. Final comments from me?
Yes, yeah. But effectively, we cannot proceed with this matter.
No, Chair,
Order members. When I was here, can we have one meeting?
Yeah. Chair, I take note of your ruling and also the comments of all the colleagues here. As you have said, let me go back and give you detailed write-up on each of these supplementary requests, specifically item number 1, 2, and 3, and then 2 also make arrangements to lay on table on the floor of Parliament the supplementary request addendum with regard to street children and also Ministry of Agriculture for fighting with the locusts. So let me formalize that. Then I'll come back at a appropriate time.
But for locusts, Minister.
No, that was in the part of the
Minister. Honorable Minister.
That one you already passed it.
Honorable Minister, when you are coming to discuss locusts, come also with the damage already caused by the locusts and how you intended to support our communities who have lost. Yes. Yes, so they must have that. They will come with all the fighting locusts.
Okay, so I think, Chair, let me come back. Let me go back and prepare the detailed submissions, and then we'll come back in a appropriate time.
Okay, members, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. But you never invited us.
Thank you, Chairman, so far.
That's the thing you are talking about. In the schedule, we never passed it.
No. It's under the 3%.
Under 3%.
It's under the 3%.
Yeah, we have not yet considered the 3%. Then why are you not releasing money to them? Because they keep calling them.
If it's 3%, you have the money.
Give them the money.
I said you're supposed to have paid already.
Yeah?
Which one?
This one.
Okay, CC.
The that is calling. That is money for road. They for road.
Yes, I know.
But then why don't you pay them?
For 3%, should we say
when they are supposed to this one from here,
I think where the problem is that it's caught up with other things as well.
Which one?
also now waiting because you are
so it is mingled there?
Yes. Because beyond 3%, according to account,
you said what?
It's beyond 3%.
Yes.
How are you?
But as what is written paid. Because beyond 3%.
So it goes.
I know.
What you are saying, we have suppressed
when this one is already approved,
and now we want to give 10 billion.
Selective, I don't know.
No. The one that require prior, we are clear. And we made it clear. Why are they being mixed up?
Because we have suppressed
Because we have not yet
what?
This one is an end of coffee. It's like the banana.
If it is liquidity, tell them so that they don't put pressure.
This one is big.
They have told us and they need money for roads. We need roads in the city. So, where is it here?
It is inside.
It came under which schedule?
I think it was under one. Schedule 2. What's it, schedule 2?
Schedule 2 is not there.
It is there. Yes. Both of them are there. Let me see.
Schedule 2 is not there. I would have put it under
KCC is there. KCC is here.
So if it is under 3%, then
if it's under 3%, it's okay. But the auditor general says it's more than 3%.